Immigration enforcement is out in full force, everybody. I've got some video coming in. This is in Louisiana in a Walmart parking lot. Now, these federalized officials, they are really going to town there, trying to get the individual out of the vehicle who was trying to flee, according to reports. Here we've got Donald Trump discussing the immigration issue.
And some of them murdered more than one person. And they're gone, you have the same exact thing. Yeah. You have people coming in from parts of the world. You better do, this interview is good for one thing. You better do something about immigration, because it's more important than inflation. Inflation you can solve. But when you have people coming into your country and they're bad people, the wrong people, it doesn't work, and it's not working. If you don't get them out, you're not going to have a country left. And
so that looks like it's the reason why Donald Trump and his administration is pushing so hard to get illegal immigration out of the country. You're not a guest in this house anymore. When we say you can come in, you're allowed to come in. Other than that, it's time to GTFO out of America. This is in Mexico City, Mexico. They're setting up these steel-plated, anti-ballistic, anti-vehicle barriers outside of the National Palace. And they're doing this because they feel like the protests are going to start against a narco state. Now, I believe that the United States of America has a bigger drug and human trafficking problem with Mexico than we will ever have with Venezuela or Colombia. But we're doing nothing about it because of old world rules and laws that we have set up with the Mexican government, who, according to many reports, is often run more heavily by criminal organizations than they are by duly elected political figures that have been set into power by the people of Mexico. So there is a lot of corruption there, and they're finally getting a little bit of a taste against the people. This is video of Trump sending the DHS special operations officials. They're going to put them in armored vehicles. They're out here doing some training. Now, this doesn't look to me like they're getting ready for taking Abuela out of the vehicle. This looks like they are getting ready for some massive drills that will be run on U.S. soil. This is rural or forest-driven militarized activity. I think that we're maybe going to see a little bit something bigger happen. We talked about it in this morning's broadcast, weird weather events happening in places all over our world. This is in Portugal, where an unusual tornado, something that the locals say they've never seen anything like this before, left a very big path, a large path of destruction in its wake. This is that massive explosion that took place, according to some, because of sabotage in Argentina after Argentina took American money and American military deals. This explosion was so large it was actually visible from space. Here is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene after Trump said that he was revoking any backing of her politically. She said that she has gotten threats against her life. She's being contacted by private security firms. She says she is no longer safe. There are threats being pushed against her, and they are being egged on by Trump, who she says is the most powerful man in the world, a man she supported and she helped to get elected. By the time the President of the United States of America, she says she must take these threats seriously. She has an understanding of the fear and pressure that people must feel. She overwhelmingly votes for Trump's bills and agenda, but his aggression against her is fueling a venomous nature of radical internet individuals. She says her phone is blowing up. She's does have support, which she's thankful for, but she's pretty much out. Speaking of people who are getting out, these are DHS agents who these are big back people. They are in here absolutely laying waste to somebody who's trying to get out of this vehicle. Flooding over here in Wales in the UK. You've got rescue boats, and this is not what you want to see after a disaster, that your mom, your grandma, whoever it might be, has to be rescued because no vehicles can get down the streets. You don't see videos like that very often where the streets of the UK are just completely flooded 8 feet high up in the street. Seafoam in Dublin. They say in 50 years they have never seen anything like this before.
WhatsApp.
Women and children rescued from another trafficking organization in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Women and children were kidnapped and sold for their means for just $40 to $60 each visit on something that is a social media app, WhatsApp. It's a contacting app. Monsters are in full support of this, they say, and we have to get these people out of the country.
The 2 human trafficking rings in Baton Rouge. Deputies say the first ring was operated out of an apartment off Holt Avenue. 40-year-old Murillo Vargas and his wife Zabdi Guzman arrested 4 suspects.
Now, I have talked to an individual who was in a position like this. She was picked up off the streets as a vulnerable individual of age, and she was basically promised, hey, you're going to get free housing, hey, you're going to get all of these things. And then once they took away her cell phone, because they were obviously running some illegal operations, and a lot of times they'll use a cartel, or they'll use gangs, or they'll use drug sales, or they'll use something else, so that the victim looks and says, okay, it makes sense that you don't want me to be able to contact my parents because then I'm a liability to you and you're giving me free housing and you're doing all these things, and it's a trap. Once they get rid of the person's social media, they get rid of their phones, they get rid of all these things, then they get them hooked on drugs, then they really get them locked into this type of trafficking activity. This is happening to children and women across our country. It is one of the most disgusting practices that have been allowed to operate freely in the USA, and they did it because a lot of people were getting into this country without a check. They were running these operations for much cheaper over in Mexico or Venezuela or wherever else. They entered into the country. We gave them our tax money for food stamps. We gave them our tax money for wealth care. The pimps, everybody who's doing wrong, they're going to the doctor when they've got a little spot to check for the dermatologist, but yet they're running people like animals. And so it is about time that we see change inside of our country.
This says Jesus Lopez, also known as El Perro, operated a trafficking operation out of 3 different locations, including an apartment off Nicholson Drive.
Now, when you see this guy on the left, or you see any of these people, you wouldn't think that they were in some sort of kingpin operation like this. They're very normal looking individuals. You would think, oh, okay, well, they're just doing their own thing. You wouldn't think that they are running something like this. And a lot of times they're just the handoff. They're like the end person. It's the people on the street, the drug dealers, that will bring somebody vulnerable to them. And that's why you really have to communicate with your friends and family, with your children. You have to tell them these types of things are happening, and it's not about scaring them. It's about making them aware. If you never saw a car accident in your entire life, if you never heard of somebody who was hurting after a car accident, if you never saw a house burned down, you would think that fires and car accidents don't exist. And so why do you need to wear a seatbelt or keep a fire extinguisher in your house? It's only because you realize that these bad things can happen that without fear, you make a better judgmental decision to protect yourself. And that's exactly how you need to explain it to especially youth, especially people who maybe are of a little bit more tentative mental health, where they're already having compounding issues with the cost of living, maybe their own substance issues, who knows? They still need to know that these bad things are happening in our world today.
I was never on this island. Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. You're going to have to look into his friends, because if they're going to do that, and I think the perfect guy to do it would be Southern District, somebody like Jay Clayton. I understand that's who's been assigned.
But does the Congresswoman have a point, though?
So here's Trump saying that the files should be released. He says that it is a hoax, that there's a lot more dirt on the other side of the aisle, and they're just doing it to distract away from the good things that America is doing. I don't know. That's kind of a decision you have to make personally. I think that everybody in power probably has some dirty things that they've done in power at some point in time. So we're watching all of these events so that you guys don't have to doom scroll. Please make sure that you hit a hype button if you see it down there somewhere below. From my family to yours, make sure you check back tomorrow morning. Make sure you're subscribed. Share this video on Facebook or Twitter, and stay safe.